Where are you going with that?
I was just kidding.
I'm not as funny as Michael, unfortunately, but I will do my best. Wasn't really sure what I was going to talk about, but first I want to tell you a little bit about myself, my basic story anyway. I grew up pretty poor. I was raised by a single mom. Typical story, divorced early from an abusive relationship. Unfortunately, this left her with essentially no money. So she raised 2 kids on less than $18,000 a year. I have no idea how she did that because I think I spent around $18,000 a year on video games. But watching her like really struggle, working 2 jobs, just really kill herself all by herself, really gave me and built in me a strong work ethic. It also put me in a position where I had to help out a lot. So started working really early. My first brush with entrepreneurship was when I was in grade school. We had a local liquidation shop, and loved to read, still do. At the time, the hot thing was choose your own adventure books. I don't know if anybody remembers those. I was able to buy them for $1 and sell them for $3 to $5 on the school ground. Got super excited, loving life, and then the school found out. The principal pulled me into the office, moved my mother into the office, and told me under no circumstances was I to sell on the school ground ever again. It's not acceptable. You're ripping these poor kids off because, as we know, nobody marks up anything in like their business.
What were you thinking?
I don't know. So I did what any self-respecting 10-year-old would do. I found out where the principal's office was. I saw that outward-facing window, and I stood on the street corner directly across from his window and sold there. Jack was not and still is not my strong suit. My disdain for authority really meant that I was pretty bad in school. I don't sit still. I think like most of us here, probably ADHD is mild terminology for it. At that time, ADHD wasn't necessarily well known, so frequently you got treated as if you had a learning disability or you were a troublemaker. Really meant that I spent more time in the principal's office than I did in the classroom. That told me what I need to do, obviously, as every kid, we all want to grow up way too fast, right? So my goal very quickly became, how do I get out of school as soon as humanly possible? So, coming into junior high and high school, I was noticing that all these kids had free time. Why? What is it? You have all this free time during the middle of the day. They called it study hall and lunch. What's going on with this? So I went down, demanded to speak to the administrator and said, I've got an idea. Why don't I skip study hall and lunch and I'll take a couple of extra classes. So they allowed me to do that, essentially accelerating my ability to kind of get out of school, which was fantastic. I was thrilled with that plan. Around that time, I got a job at Staples. Almost immediately, I noticed that they had a problem. Staples sold 2 things back then that were obviously very important to most business owners. One was ready-to-assemble furniture. Still do a lot of business with that. And the other was computers. At the time, there was 2 things that most business owners hated: assembling furniture and setting up computers. So I recognized some opportunities there where when people would complain, I said, hey, but I got a solution for you. So when people would complain to me, I would tell them, hey, I'll set up your whole office. Fantastic. Timing is everything. The first time I went to a business and set up a small office, maybe an hour and a half of work, the owner handed me a $100 bill. Guy couldn't stop thanking me. Remember, we were broke. I had never seen a $100 bill in my life. I kept that $100 bill in my wallet for 5 years. And I would take that out and look at it frequently. I found out that business owners were willing to pay $50 to $100 an hour, and all I had to do was set up furniture and then plug in their computer. A few months after this I ran into my time, I need to discuss my future with the school. I was on track to graduate early. I had a great business on the side. That first year, I made just under $40,000 part-time assembling furniture by myself and 2 friends. So, I sit down in a meeting with my mother and the administrators, and mustering all my 16-year-old wisdom, told them school was done. It was pointless, and I wasn't going to go to college. It did not sit well with them. So we had a very brief conversation, the rest of it of which did not go well. My plans for world domination would have to wait, and I was essentially punished. And they said, well, you have every credit you need to graduate except for physical education. This left me with a senior year where I had physical education and a whole bunch of electives for a kid who couldn't sit still and spend too much time in the principal's office. I spent the majority of my senior year skipping school and essentially running my own business. So, age 17, some of you probably realize this now, but at the age of 17, you are not allowed to sign a contract, or at least legally binding one. At the age of 17, I went out and I started my first brick and mortar business. I signed a lease for 12 months. I talked to my banker. My banker was very excited. At the end of the day, my banker says, hey, wait a second. You, sir, are underage. We are not able to lend you any money. To which I said, oh no, I've signed a lease. So, worked full time, busted my tail. We grew that business to, it was essentially a computer consulting business, as well as on the side we still assembled furniture and everything. We grew that to just shy of 7 figures, and I sold it a few years later. That was my first real attempt at a business. It ended up being wildly successful for someone that was that young. And I will say I met a lot of folks last night at the networking event. You guys are incredibly young. I am so excited with what Monica's doing, and to see some of you guys have so much more of a head start than I ever did. Please, if you're not in ACE, join ACE. Take Sam up on his offer to have that conference call. Go through it with him. I'm available as well if you have any questions. Anyway, from that I decided, well, it's time for me to get a real job. So I began venturing into corporate America. In corporate America, I went into commercial banking. From there, I eventually moved into advertising. Wore a lot of hats in corporate America. I was in sales training, multiple management jobs. Towards the end of my corporate career, I was what they called a firefighter. It's basically when the company sets a relationship on fire, they're looking for someone to put it out, I was the guy they called. From there, I quickly moved into a little bit of a different role. They realized I was good at handling bad conversations. I became the axe man. That is a job that I hope I never have to do again. Having to fire people, some of which have been with the company for decades, some of which relocated their family and were now left stranded without a job and no family to help support them. All because most of the management could not or would not have those conversations with them. Overall, I spent about 15 years consulting with businesses like Dunkin' Donuts, Subway, Cold Stone Creamery, Verizon, DirecTV, and hundreds of other local and national businesses. I absolutely loved my customers, but I also absolutely hated my life. I started looking around and I saw 30-year-olds that looked like 50-year-olds. People having heart attacks, rushing back to corporate America because they were afraid of losing their job. 80-hour work weeks and never-ending travel schedules, just grinding people into the ground. And I couldn't do it anymore. In 2015, they gave me the choice of taking a retirement package at the age of 35, or relocating to Texas, which I was very happy at the time to take the retirement package. Didn't even really have to think about it. I took it on the spot, immediately, weight off my shoulders, super thrilled with life. And then I realized I have to tell my wife. Thankfully, she's very understanding. So I left my six-figure corporate job in 2015. My wife at the time was running a very successful day spa in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. 8 months later, we closed my wife's business because it was just costing us too much money for her to keep running the spa. We've been selling on Amazon for the last 2 years, built a very successful seven-figure business, and it frankly is growing so fast, I'm not really sure I can screw it up at this point. I spend my days chasing Michael Gindy because he continues to make me look good. So, that being said, I did want to take some time and talk a little bit about mindset. My mother was very supportive, but also very, shall we say, cautiously optimistic. So for those of you who don't, are not familiar with Star Wars, I have a hard time, there's a lot of you in this room. My mother was my C-3PO. She would say something to the effect of, "Sir, the possibilities of successfully navigating an e-commerce business are 3,720 to 1. To which we would say, "Never tell me the odds." One of the main things I really learned in corporate America, especially in sales training, and I see this repeated frequently through life, is this quote: "So many things are possible just as long as you don't realize they're impossible." For all of you that are new, honestly, stay ignorant as long as you can. People like Michael Gindy come out of the blocks and just absolutely kill it. I'm trying.
You don't know any better.
Because we didn't know any better. When we started, the young guns were starting, they were all over Facebook saying, "Hey, we're going to do, I think we can do this 100,000 a month outside of fourth quarter." The reason we stay off of Facebook, honestly, is all we heard was negative stuff about that. Can't do that without a big team. You gotta have like 20 employees if you're gonna do that, those types of numbers. There's not enough inventory out there to do it RA and OA. All crap. You you look at Sam, he's doing $20 million a year. And you have Michael chasing right behind on Jackie. There's plenty of inventory. There's plenty of opportunity for everyone. I don't care where you are. I just met, within the last 6 months, I think $4 million sellers that are right in my backyard. We're up in New Hampshire. An hour to get to a store. It's not like New Jersey. There's plenty of opportunity out there.
Any dollars in there?
There's few and far between.
Too many cow pastures. Too much
So, another thing that I really wanted to go over, for those of you that are new, especially if you're starting with a small budget, $1 million is a great goal, but I feel like the more I talk to some of the newer sellers, I feel like if they don't hit $1 million right out of the gate, they say, oh, I'm failing. That is absolutely not true. So what I did is I pulled some numbers together. I found these numbers to be very interesting. These numbers are from the Chamber of Commerce and the SBA. The interesting part about a lot of these numbers is that the way that they're pulling these numbers is it's from businesses who have been around 2 years, and then they pull every 5 years after that. So what that means is these are all numbers based on established businesses. These are not numbers based on new businesses. So what does that mean? Annual store sales in the range of $300 a square foot is considered above average. The average retail store is less than 2,000 square feet, but because I'm doing math in public, we're going to say that it's 2,000 square feet. That means $600,000 a year is above average, not $1 million. So you can essentially, comparatively, in this business, be killing it at much less than what the numbers were pretty consistently being blitzed with online. Even if you want to say, well, that's great, but I want to be more than above average. I want to be amazing, right? So, okay, $787 per square foot puts you in the best top 20 U.S. retailers. That's only $1.6 million, guys. So, that puts you in the best. These numbers, they're not retail, this is all businesses. We're going to be somewhere in there this year. We've got 4 employees. Sam, how many employees do you have now? 20 employees. You're doing $20 million. This opportunity, I just want to make it clear, I think everyone's here because they think that Amazon is an amazing opportunity. I just want to really show how amazing an opportunity. I have clients still that do $3 to $5 million. They are 3rd generation businesses. They have 50 employees. That is what this business is doing for us. You're able to have just incredible success in a short period. One last thing on that I want to share is, I don't know if any of you read Phil Knight's book. Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. His book is Shoe Dog. Highly recommend it. The numbers that he said: $8,000 year one, $300,000 year 5. So, if you do $300,000 by year 5, it means you're on track to run a $32.4 billion a year business. Think about it that way. So you say, well, Brian, that's all fine and good, but you don't understand. I'm going to know how to sell 7 figures this year. How do I do that? Have a plan. This is one of my favorite quotes. I'm sure you've probably seen it before, but another quote that I really like is from General George Patton. A good plan violently executed now is better than the perfect plan next week. I think you should definitely build this business like a traditional business. Don't get me wrong. Get a business plan together, but it doesn't have to be some 20-page monstrosity. You do a very basic business outline. I know some people will disagree with me on that, but I can tell you that I got my first business loan with a 3-page business plan. I didn't spend a lot of time on it. So for those of you who are saying, hey, when am I going to get that Amazon business loan? Don't wait. I went to my local bank, and within about a week, I had a $100,000 line of credit. Second part is going to be know your numbers. I'm sure you've heard that enough. Knowing your numbers is great, but the biggest, probably most important thing I would say is know how much cash you have on hand. What I mean by that is there's a lot of things in a traditional profit and loss or income statement that, especially if you're pulling it from an inventory lab or something like that, that we're not paying a lot of attention to. Things like taxes and interest and things of that nature. Know how much cash you have on hand so you don't get too overextended. The other thing is don't always focus on top line revenue. Once you start growing, don't forget to check your expenses. It's really easy for you to sign up for all the thousands of lists and extensions that you never end up using.
You good.
And
Well, it's not singing and dancing, but you did.
Oh, well, that was my next slide. But keep in mind that a 10% reduction in expenses can add up to maybe a 40% increase in your bottom line. So pay careful attention to your expenses. The next thing is have detailed processes. It's fine, when it was the 2 of us, not that big a deal, but as we've started hiring, make sure you have a shipping process, have a receiving process, have a buying process, plan out your RA routes. You will find not only will it make everybody more productive, but it will save you a ton of time, especially when you have turnover. See if that video works. I just want to show you guys a quick video. This is something I show to my employees. You may or may not have seen this before.
You may not see it.
You may not see it now.
Video can work, but it might not be on.
We did.
Oh, Nike's restricted. Guys, don't panic. I know Michael talked about this. Everything seems to come in cycles. You know, they're going to restrict one brand. You're going to find 3 more that are going to open up. Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the neck, but just get off the escalator. Keep moving. As long as you're moving forward, I promise that you'll be way ahead of the game. The next bit of advice I have is eat your sandwich. When I first got into sales training, and just training in general, I was not told, eat your poop sandwich. Not in those words. Building a business is hard. I'm sorry, it is. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of late nights, especially in the beginning. You have one option. You can gulp down your poop sandwich in 3 or 4 bites, or you can nibble at it for 3 or 4 years. The faster you get that stuff out of the way, the faster your business is going to grow. There really are no shortcuts, or at least I haven't found any. Michael maybe has. Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? You're suspended, yeah. Oh, damn. What am I going to do? Guys, eat your sandwich. Wish that would never happen to me, but it did. I have no college degree, I promise you. Like Michael said, I'm not any smarter than anybody here. In fact, I'm quite sure most of you are smarter than me. See, game runs out. I'm not qualified to do much of anything, yet I somehow got to VP levels in corporate America. I was firing people with MBAs. I don't have a college degree. The number one key to success is hard work and producing. If you follow what Sam says, if you put your head down and you do the work, this thing works like you wouldn't believe. Remember, amateurs built the Ark, professionals built the Titanic. All right, that's the hook. So, I know you're all saying, well, okay, yeah, I know this is hard work, it's really difficult. Michael did it, you did it. What's the secret weapon? It's sitting right next to you guys. The only reason why we're here now, because I didn't believe this business worked. In 2015, I left my 6-figure job. I sat around for about 4 months wallowing in it and said, I don't know, I think this thing's gonna work. I went to a convention just like this, and I talked to Chris Green, I talked to Dwayne Mallett, I talked to a bunch of people who said, quit your whining, put your head down, do the work. Come see me in 4 months. 4 months later, I'm bringing my wife home from her business. It works. Just do the work. I know at the end of this, we're going to have drinks, we're going to have dinner, and everyone is going to say, hey, I want to talk to all the speakers, I want to talk to the Chris Greens, I want to talk to John Lawsons, I want to talk to the Monica Busby. A lot of these people are going to be swamped. Some of the best resources in this room are sitting right next to you. Last year, I met somebody who was a beginner who shared with me a couple tidbits of information that made me, I don't know, probably tens of thousands of dollars a month. Every single person in this room has something of value to offer you. Talk to everyone. Mastermind groups. There's going to be some disagreement with this probably in the room. Mastermind groups are great. They can be a little unwieldy. So what's the solution? Find somebody here that you get along with real well. Find yourself an accountability buddy. Someone who you can tell today, this is what my goals are, and I want you to keep me accountable. Have a weekly, monthly call with them, and get yourself a swift kick in the butt, which at the end of the day is probably what we all really need. That's all I got.